Ladies and gentlemen, this is Eddie Marcus once again, spokesman and advocate of basic human rights for all people. Let me say to you, I bring this message to everyone that has ears to hear and are thinking to understand, including all governments, all political leaders, and all religious leaders. I am an elder by age, a social scientist by training, a practitioner by choice. Time, training, and practice reveals truth. It is this truth that frees one from the lie and deception of politics and political parties, religion, Congress, and man as supreme justice. You know, I didn't know how humans could be so cruel. I knew they were cruel. I see how good they could be to the animals, and I could also see how cruel they can be to the animals. And I also found out that humans can be just as cruel to one another as they can be cruel to animals. I've always believed that you could accomplish anything you set out to do, and I still do. Some things can be a little bit too big for you. I live in a society that years ago I've always believed in something special. But the cruelty that I saw that people could deliver toward animals and toward themselves, I thought that I could overcome, not just for myself, but for all of us as a human race. And I set out and I made a promise to myself and to the higher powers that I understood might exist, that I would set out and I would try to make a change in the world. For the suffering of the people, I would not be satisfied until whatever level of life and excitement and joy and access that I had that satisfied me, until others, and at least everybody, could experience that level, that I would not be satisfied. I also believed, as I understood, that sometimes it takes certain things to motivate you to go that extra step, to do what is required to be done. Things sometimes, if you didn't go that extra step, you just throw up and go back and forget it. And so one of the things that I recognized in my growing up that was very precious to me was my ability to stand before the people and speak honestly from my heart, and to smile and let them see my beautiful smile and the joy that was inside of me. And one of those things that made everybody feel good is the smile. You know, you see it on TV today when people say you can smile and it's so beautiful. Or you can walk into a place and talk to people and they smile and it's so beautiful. So one of the things that were very precious to me was my jewels. My smile, my teeth. I committed myself that my teeth would be the motivating force outside of the other stuff that I've given that would guide me beyond those stumbling blocks that would try to hold me back. I wanted to make sure certain things happen. And I would use my teeth as motivation. In other words, I would not do what you do to protect my teeth. I would do like some of the other people who lose their teeth, who can't protect their teeth, who walking around with their heads down, who couldn't smile. Because I was convinced that if I was in that position, I'd stand up and whatever is required, I'd do it. But I want to confess to you today, ladies and gentlemen, aside from my ugly face, and it's beautiful sometimes, I have got to have one of the ugliest mouths you could ever see. Right now, you hear me talking sometimes, you can see some of the plastered up stuff I got in there trying to hold me up. But in reality, I lost that battle. I lost that battle. All the pretty teeth, all the nice stuff is all gone. All the motivation that it could muster up was mustered up, but it was insufficient. I could not cause people to see the wonderful life, the wonderful way of life that I had seen. And my suffering from my lack of appeal as far as my smile goes, I don't care how I stepped or how high I stepped, it did nothing to move the forces that are required to be removed in order to do those things that benefit people in the area, all areas, but specifically for my teeth. Sometimes I look in the mirror and I see my failure in my mouth. The other day I was watching some people trying to get out of one country to get away from the persecution and the abuse that they have to experience in that country. And they ended up in another country who kept them together as they prepared to put them on planes and send them back where they came from to the suffering. I saw one man, there were many I'm sure, but I saw this one, they had the camera on him good. He was a black man, much younger than me, looked much stronger than I am. And he was sitting there crying with his hands over his eyes. His heart broken. But there was no love. So they were loading up all these people, sending them back to the persecution and the pain and suffering that they were trying to run from. Treating them like the animals that nobody cares about. It broke my heart. It reminded me, though, and caused me to even shed tears for myself. When I smile, I try to smile and close my mouth real fast, because I saw in my mouth the society that I live in, rotten. That the society that I lived in, ugly. I saw that in my mouth. And so, ladies and gentlemen, I decided that I would make this last presentation to you. I don't know really if it is the last, but it is my most latest. And I call it Life. I made notes because I wanted to not spend all kinds of day talking, but get to the point. And I want you to know that this message is about life. That begins, and we know where we understand, all of us in America have come up basically, well, most of us who were born here, have come up basically the same way. And so for those of you, I'm speaking specifically to you, and for those of you who from other places, I'm sure you came along almost, if not the exact same way. This message is about a life that begins after exiting the womb, not the religious point. I'm not trying to knock that out, but I don't want to go back that far. It caused too much confusion. People don't even understand what's happening now, let alone go back that far. So I want to start this message about life that starts after you exit your mother's womb. And this life ends when you enter the grave or being cremated. I'm not talking about the heaven or the hell you've been trained about going to. I'm talking about the life that ends when you go into the grave or are cremated. This we can all identify with. And I want to refer to this message as life. L-I-F-E. Life. At this point, life continued depends on access to the resources to support survival that requires input and action by us, the people. And these are food, their clothing and shelter and education and health care. Every living human requires these for survival. And every human has something to offer in the creative process in bringing enough of these requirements from the resources to meet the needs and wants and desires for all humans. This is humans' number one priority in life, and everyone is qualified to play a role. The unique and special gifts exhibiting the particular contribution that each bring into this life upon their arrival. Each of you got a special gift. When you exit your mama's womb, you already got a special gift inside of you. Just like all the organs that you got there will grow and develop you into a major whoever and whatever you are. You also got a gift planted inside of you that will develop and form as you grow. And it is your divine contribution to this society, or this what we call life. Now, having followed this practice, it makes every human a participant and co-owners of all things created at the hands of man. As such, each human is entitled to receive from the reservoir of goods and services whatever their need, whatever their want, and whatever their desire is. This process establishes peace, prosperity, happiness, and joy of life. The mother of the fulfillment of dreams. This is justice in all its terms. Capitalism will not allow this. Neither will socialism or communism, nor dictatorships. Each of these are built on the premise that someone is more deserving, someone is superior, someone is entitled. And each of these capitalism, socialism, dictatorships, communism, all require lying. They require cheating. They require stealing. That creates, in all of this process, hatred and bigotry. Creates poverty, racism, crime, and violence. It creates terror. And it creates war. It is also the author of politics, the author of division, the author of corruption in legal systems, injustices. And the end of this is reflective of a community baseball team where the kids are told how to play. Yet, they watch their parents fight over the game they played, or games played by others, in total objection of the instruction. The kids hear one thing and see another. They learn and respond to what they see. The question of this message of life is, what is an individual to do? How should each one respond? If you want peace, prosperity, and joy, do the things that produce such. If you want hell, do the rest. Remember, this is an individual choice. If you believe that standing still as Moses told the Hebrew children, and watch the glory of God defend you, you'd better make sure your faith has allowed you to do all that you can. Because faith without works is dead. And a dead faith without works is the main tool against peace, the main tool against prosperity, the main tool against joy, the main tool against life. Ladies and gentlemen, as we visit these days near, we watch what's happening in the United States of America, especially with Brett Kavanaugh running to be our confirmation for the United States Senate. You got one group of people willing to go to any means to get this man in the Supreme Court. And it appears that you might have people on the other side who will do anything to keep them out. And each side feels that they are right. And in their understanding, they are right. But what is right that doesn't give a darn about the other? It isn't right. It isn't right at all. So what is the mission? What would you think is the mission? What do I think is the mission? I think that each side should be satisfied. Why do you want one way? And why do you want another? When every last one of you require the same things for survival, require the same thing to be joyous, require the same things to be prosperous. Each of you. And so one side is fighting so that they can have a prosperity that denies the other side. And another side is dividing so they can have their type that denies the other side. And I want to tell you, ladies and gentlemen, as elder, this is the author of hell. The author of all the wars and all of the things that I've mentioned that we experience every day. And none of it leads to peace, prosperity, and happiness and joy of life. None of it leads to every individual having all the food, the clothing, the shelter, and the education that is required to be the best that you can be, and the health care to be healthy. Nor are the doors open for you to open the career in your dream vision and step out into it and participate in the process of creating any number of resources and goods. All of that is shut off because we choose capitalism. All of that is shut off because we choose socialism. All of that is shut off because we choose communism. We choose dictatorships. We choose me and to hell with you. And that ain't life. That's death. And so while I came to you and I said all I want to talk to you about is from the exit of your mama's womb until the entrance into the grave. That's the only thing we have really true experience. That is really the only thing that really matters. Before it doesn't matter. After it doesn't matter. Too much pressure dealing with the after. Too much pressure dealing with the before. Use all your pressure for now. My mission has always been to say that if you want peace, make sure that every effort is made to deal with any possible sickness. Cures, prevention, and make it free for everybody that's sick. Why? Because some people might not be able to pay. Make sure that education and all of the other things essential that I identified as essential for survival are open to everybody, and everybody plays a part in it. Everybody pick up a hammer, whatever that hammer is, and engage it. When you engage it, who is this nut that comes around and tell you can't get it unless you get some money from them? Who is this nut that tell you can't get it unless you go into debt? Who is this nut that tell you can't get it unless you pay taxes and fees? Who is this nut that accepts it? I'll tell you who it is. It's a trained nut. A trained nut who believes that if he keep on looking at his mouth fall and rot out, that it will motivate him to stand up. Yes, it'll motivate you to stand up. But what will that standing up do for you? It'll give you the authority to stand up and tell the truth. It'll give you the authority to stand before the American people and say, I know you, Republicans and Democrats. You're evil. You are low down and you are dirty. But you know what? That's the filth that you were born in. And you can be no other way being born in filth, and no one comes along and teach you about decency. No one comes along and help you get out of that mess. And so you keep on thinking that your way is the way because it works for you. And no one told you that someone else mattered. And when you got left out, you found out that you did matter. But you didn't learn that they matter too. You just learned that you got to take back emphasis that recognize you as mattering. And if you had to mess over somebody else to get you mattered, that was all right. That's capitalism. That's socialism. That's communism. That's dictatorships. And I'm not talking about God or the devil. I'm talking about you as human beings. I'm talking about the resources that have been given to us free of charge. I'm talking about our bodies that have been allowed to us free of charge. I'm talking about the oxygen. I'm talking about the blood that flows through our veins. I'm talking about the brain in our heads. And I'm talking about the desire to live. And I'm talking about it being denied by something that we haven't taken control of. Well, and so as I mentioned earlier, what is an individual to do? You can't make anyone else do anything. As I look in my mouth and see the condition of it, I recognize that I don't care what I thought. I don't care who I love and how much love I got. I can't make you do those kinds of things that bring about peace and prosperity and joy. But I must not let your action cause me to act like you, cause me to hate, cause me to treat animals bad, cause me to treat my neighbors bad because they are not the same color, cause me to treat my family bad because they don't support what I do. No, my friends, I must not allow you to do that to me. And so what I have found, my friends, what I have found is this. If you know you're right, nobody else has to join you. Let your mouth stay ragged. Wear raggedy clothes if you must. But you stand your ground. You stand there for what's right. And if they want to kill you, let them kill you. Let them make a martyr out of you. The greatest human that ever walked the face of the earth. A martyr who chose love over hate. Who chose right over wrong. Who wanted life, and not just for themselves, but for everybody else. Don't let nobody cause you to want to hate. I mean, I can say that. But the choice is yours. And what you do it for you. If you want to be good and kind, be good and kind for you. And let everybody else be as ugly and stinking and low down, dirty, ragged that they want to be, because you can't change them. You can't change them. As I walked in a few moments ago, I passed by the television. I heard somebody speaking on Kavanaugh, Brett Kavanaugh, getting into the United States Supreme Court. I heard somebody else talking about why he shouldn't be in there. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you don't need a Supreme Court. Do you know what the Supreme Court means? The Supreme Court means that it's God. The Supreme Court means that it is God. And if it's channeled by Republicans, then Republicans are God, not others. If it's channeled by Democrats, then Democrats are God, not others. You're just slaves. So I say, love don't need Kavanaugh and the other 8. Love has its supreme justice. Love has its superiority. Love has its way. And love, if it must be alone, it'll be alone Because love ain't changing to hate. So, ladies and gentlemen, I don't know if I meant to talk this long or not. I don't even know if I really said anything to you. But I do know one thing. One thing I have learned. I know what brings about life. I know what brings about peace and prosperity and joy of life. I know all of that. I know how to eliminate pain and suffering from the ways of life. But I myself, alone, I can't make it happen. Out of the 8 billion people on the earth, I'm just one. And I tell you, if you stand up and look at 8 billion, you'll never see me. But I'm in there. That's what I'm saying about truth and life. It's in there somewhere. You're not going to find it, but it's in there somewhere. So rather than go looking for it, become it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.